before killing that.
Can't you just take his picture and then we'll just say something on a video or on a tape?
Do you like the clutch cargo? He probably doesn't know what that was. Just the lips move.
I understand that you are the connective tissue that brought Tom here. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I know the people in Banner Elk were not very happy with me that he came, and they blamed me. They said, "You stole our minister." I said, "No, God did that." But I did go to church with Tom for several years and was very fond of him.
Did you hand deliver his PIF here? Is that something? Yeah, tell me about that.
I did, and I'm not sure that should be.
No, it's allowed. There's nothing.
Yes, I did, and I took it to the committee, and Joyce Parr, who's no longer with us, I'm sorry, said, "Oh, I can't talk to you about that." I said, "I didn't come to talk to you," just handed it to them and left.
Long.
Long process.
It felt like it.
We had, how many did we have?
A lot.
Applicants?
A lot. I'm not sure.
I remember.
He came in February of 2004. I went to visit him in November 16th of 03 at his church. And I would say we started it like in September or October.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Late
12,
summer.
13 months, 14 months maybe, which is, I guess is not long.
Did we
in
do
the
it
scheme of
over a
things,
year?
But
I bet it was.
I bet it
Because we
was,
had
right, yeah.
Dr. Bob
Yeah.
and we had,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we ended up with everybody had one minister
Yeah.
that we had to.
But we had decided that it would be unanimous. So it would only have taken one
to knock it out.
knock them off.
And Donna had.
I had Tom. He was mine that I called and did the initial phone interview
We
with.
each chose one that we would call and talk with personally.
You know, a lot of them, like, I remember Donna didn't have a video, and Tom had said, "Well, just come up and listen to me."
Yeah.
I think when we went to lunch with him after the service, we were seated at a large round table. And of course, we knew about him. But he said, "Okay, start right here, go around the table, tell me your name and something about you." He didn't just want to know our names, he wanted to know a little bit of something about it, each one of us.
I think, I think we all liked his preaching style.
And he had been there 17 years, so we knew that he had been a well-established minister.
And he did tell us that if he made the move, that he planned on retiring from here, that he wouldn't come and leave us, and make us go through this again.
Yeah, and I remember.
So I told
So
him
we're
the
doing
other
the
day that
math.
he,
Okay, so that's
that
at least,
was true to his heart.
Yeah.
Okay, that gets us how many years?
Yeah, we started figuring.
Yeah, I did not go with them. There were 7 of us on our committee. 5 of them, went and took him out and everything. I was gone, and Charlie was gone. So we went up there on November 16th. Terrible weather. Snow, ice up in Banner Elk. And we, tried to be inconspicuous. We went up and sat in the balcony. And of course, Charlie Meek knows everyone. And this guy starts talking to him and says, well, come to lunch with us and everything. Charlie said, "Okay." And I said, Charlie, we're supposed to be, and he said, oh, we can't, not today, this and that. And I don't know, it was then or shortly after that, either the other man or somebody said, "You're not here to get our minister." I didn't say nothing, and I don't know what he said, but it was awful.
He probably just laughed.
It was
Charlie.
awful.
Gave him a piece of candy.
Yeah. It was
always had
awful.
candy.
Yeah, so we sat through that and then met him afterwards. And the thing that impressed me, not only him, but this big, beautiful office they had built him. And I kept thinking, have you seen what you're going to have at Colonial Heights?
We asked him too, if we interviewed his staff, what would they tell us about him? He said, "Go ask them."
Wow, Tom. Each pastor that I have served under has been different from each other, and that's great. So there's no one way that ministry is done. And Tom, first of all, is one of the most supportive pastors I have worked under.
I don't know how many people will remember this or even know this, but myself and Carlene were actually here about 4 to 5 months before Tom was. We were hired under the previous interim, Dr. Bob Lowry. And I remember at the time when we heard that this individual was being called, I actually remember that first lunch we had with Tom where we, staff members got to meet him and get to know him. And I remember actually having a lot of trepidation because I'm someone, you all know me, I'm someone that sometimes likes to do things different just to do them different. I always have sort of a creative streak in me wanting to push the envelope or do something different. And I didn't know who this new minister was and how we were going to work together. Man, it has been my pleasure over the years to know and to love and to work with Tom, someone who's just open to really anything, open to seeing what helps connect people with God. And I found Tom to be such a warm and steadying presence in the life of this church and in my life as a coworker.
One of the things I've always appreciated about Tom is his support. He's been so easy to work with. His manner is one of asking, let's do it this way, and always good ideas, and we're always able to share in that camaraderie of ideas back and forth.
I love as I look back, I love to remember staff meetings. Staff meetings were a time when we could all get together, pray, plan, and kind of just let it all hang out. And we could talk sometimes politics, we could talk just the needs of the church. We could talk just about anything, and it was just a wonderful free time when we could be together.
I appreciate Tom's friendship, and will miss him greatly as a friend, as a coworker, and as a boss.
I honestly think after we had gone and met him and all of that, and we came back together,
That was it.
That was it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it was
didn't-
really a very peaceful decision. I just think it was.
Yeah.
It was unanimous, and it was. I thought we all felt extremely comfortable with it.
I feel like I grew up in this church, although I did start out at Waverly Road. I'm from this area. I grew up in Bristol. But to me, there's no place like Kingsport.
Yeah.
And yes, when we decided to move out here in Colonial Heights, we built soon after we built, we transferred to this church. Felt like this was my church from the very beginning. But as I said a little while ago, and I want to repeat it, Tom is the top of the list as far as I'm concerned.
When I was on session is really when I got to know Tom, and it made a really big impact in my life. And he's got a boisterous voice. You like to hear him. And when he sings, he sounds like Andy Griffith. I always thought that. I think I even told him that one time. But he's just a deep person. We're gonna miss him so much.
If you live long enough, you're gonna have some dark, painful times in your life, and you're gonna have some joyous times in your life. And I think that for me, the commonality between those two is Tom. He has been there during painful, dark times to guide and to comfort. He's been there to share in the joyous times. And for that continuity of service and faith, I thank him. I'm so grateful and appreciative for that.
Before Tom came, a couple of folks on the nominating committee, I was talking to them out in the hall one Sunday morning, and they said, this guy we're looking at, we think you'll like him. I said, huh? Yeah, we'll think you'll like him. He's akin to you. He looks just almost like you. About the same age, got the same hair color, about the same build. So I don't know who they were embarrassing more, Tom, me or you. So I guess you've just held up better than I have.
There's a particular thing that happened that I don't talk about much because it was a hard time. But y'all all did something for me, and maybe you didn't. Maybe it was one of those God things. But I looked back on it later and found out that I think y'all did something in the service for me at a time that I needed it the most. And when I started here, I didn't know what everybody would think about somebody that didn't have a lot of church experience. So I emailed him and sent him a long email and expected him to read it and not really know what to think of this girl. And he sent me a long reply that let me know I'm welcome. And it made me feel like a part of the family already.
I'm gonna miss him. That he was kind of funny.
He's kind of funny.
Tom has good taste in basketball teams, and I think that's not always appreciated.
But he has been so kind to me, and he has done things that were above and beyond what I expected. For instance, I was in the hospital in Knoxville, and my very good best friend, Betty Beard, was getting Alzheimer's at the time. And Tom brought her down to see me, drove all the way down to Knoxville, and that's something I shall never forget.
Okay, so how old were you when you retired?
I retired a little bit early, I think 62.
Okay, so you have been successfully retired for 34 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the secret to success?
As my mother used to say, an apple a day will keep that doctor away. Well, I don't know that I have any secrets, but I have always been pretty active. And if I'm not, I'm bored. So yeah, being active, taking on a challenge,
I quite literally grew up in church. In any given year, we were probably at church more days than we weren't. In those days, the pastor was this stern, older man who yelled a lot. It was the Church of God, after all. When I moved to Kingsport and met Carrie, we looked for a church that was some middle ground between Lutheran and the Church of God, and that's how we ended up here at Colonial Heights. There was a series of ministers that I both admired and respected, but the concept of a pastor didn't really hit home until Tom came. This calm, reasoned man who was only a few years older than me, this thoughtful speaker whose sermons sometimes entertained and sometimes punctured, and always concluded with, "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." This human being who sometimes got irritated, but whom I never saw truly angry, and that's your former clerk speaking, Tom. This minister whose favorite liturgy I believe to be that of infant baptism. This man I truly call friend. He may not be my last, but Tom was truly my first pastor.